Hey fangirls and boys, this is Natalie and you're watching Haul Lotta Love, and today's video is a first impressions on the Morphe x Jeffree Star collection that just launched. So I have the palette over here. So this palette, this is what the palette looks like inside. It has 30 eyeshadows. It has a lot of pinky tones and some more greenish, silvery, brownish, coppery tones towards the bottom. I think it's really a super pretty palette, and I just wanted to compare it size-wise to the Jeffree Star Jawbreaker palette. You can see the size difference isn't too much. It's about the same size. The one with Morphe is a little bit like taller because there are more eyeshadows, but it's a little bit more narrow on the side to the Jawbreaker palette. So pretty much with both these palettes, they're pretty sleek, especially for the amount of eyeshadows you're getting. This one has 24 eyeshadows, this one has 30 eyeshadows. In the video, I also use the eye brush collection that they launched with the palette as well, and I use these 4 brushes over here, but it comes with 10 brushes, and it has a couple of different blending brushes, an eyebrow brush, an eyeliner brush. So it is a pretty nice eye set overall, and you'll get to see how they perform while I use them in my look and see what I think of them in comparison to, you know, the brushes that I would normally use. And finally, I try the Morphe x Jeffree Star Set and Refresh Mist in the Starberry scent, so you'll get to see my thoughts on the scent and, you know, the performance of this product as well. So anyway, if you are interested in seeing how I got this look and seeing how the new products in the Jeffree Star x Morphe collection perform, if you are interested in seeing that, then keep on watching. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. There are a lot of very light neutrally shades, like these 3 shades down here, and like a lot of these shades on the top part, but in person they look a little bit deeper than they look in photos and stuff like that. So I think that these will be workable. I think there's enough here for a variety of skin tones to work with, but there are a lot of light shades, so keep that in mind. I also got the Morphe x Jeffree Star, the new eye brush collection that also launched with the palette. So this is what it came like. It came with this little sleeve, and it's like this pink vinyl makeup bag, pretty cute, and then all the brushes come in this little plastic thingy over here. So I'm gonna open this up and see which brushes I wanna try here. I've already set my eyes. I also did my brows, and I set my eyes with the NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in Milk. So I definitely have my normal go-to brushes. I usually use, for my fluffier tapered blending brush, I use the Cossetti D220, and that's what this one looks like. So I don't think there's any brushes in here that are like a total dupe for this one. I'm gonna try this brush here. This is the JS5 brush. This one isn't quite as tapered as what I'm used to, but it's about the same size, maybe a little bit, slightly bigger, slightly more fluffy than what I normally do, but let's try it out. So I'm gonna start with this shade Back right over here. It's like a light mauve-y, like a light rosy pink shade. I'm just gonna start with that above my crease. And there is definitely kick up in the pan, so it seems to have picked up pretty decently on this brush. Let's go in. So you can see that there definitely has a good amount of pigment. It's coming off like nice and vibrant. I thought it might be a little more muted. I was like, I don't know, I want this look to be pretty vibrant, so I didn't know if I wanted to go in with this color. But I'm glad I did, because it looks nice and vibrant, and I think it'll go well with what I'm thinking about doing. And this brush is working decently. This is definitely less tapered than what I normally like to go in with my blending brushes, because my eyes are smaller and hooded. I work with a much smaller, less fluffier brush than most people I think would in the crease, but this is working pretty well. I'm able to control it pretty decently. So the next shade I'm gonna go in with is the shade Pink Fleet right over here. It's like a hot pinky purple kind of shade. I'm gonna go in my actual crease with this. So this color is performing decently so far. It seems nice and pigmented. The only thing I will say is that it does look a little more purple in the pan, and there is kick up definitely in both the shades I've tried so far. This one it's definitely picking up more pink on the eye. It doesn't really look too purpley. It just kind of looks like a hot pink. I would say it's not entirely true to color. I mean, there's a touch of that purpliness there. It's a little bit of a cooler undertone, but it's still definitely just hot pink, really. I'm going to, in the outer V, I'm going to use the shade Mogul here, which is like a deeper mauve-y, pinky purple color. Just right on this outer part here. So that color definitely deepened things up a little bit. I feel like these colors are all kind of made to be doing what I'm doing, which is just going to be like a really pink monochromatic kind of look. I feel like these colors all work really well together with that. I'm happy this color is definitely a little slightly deeper and slightly more purple than the Pink Fleet shade that I used mostly in the crease. I am going to do a half cut crease. Again, it's going to be a really monochromatic pink look, but I just want there to be a little bit of variation. I don't think there's going to be really any variation because my eyes are so hooded with just putting another shade on my lid at this point because most of my eye space is already pretty much covered. I don't see a flat concealer brush in the Jeffree Star Morphe eye collection, so I'm going to use my usual Colourpop flat concealer brush, and I'm going to use the Urban Decay Naked Skin concealer to do this. I am going to use this smaller flat shading brush. This is the JS11 brush, and I'm going to go into the shade Self Made, which is that true hot pink with a little more of a reddish undertone in the palette. So I'm just going to put this where I cut the crease. So that is one eye done. You can see I got a little bit of fallout over here. It's kind of like in a weird spot. I'm just gonna see if I can rub that off. And I'll cover it like the rest with concealer, what's left over under my eye. So that's how that looks. I think that that looks really, there's a lot of kick up in this palette, but I do think that this color is looking really nice. It's really vibrant. That like reddish kind of undertone really shines through on this one. And I definitely see a little bit of tonal variation between that pink and the rest of the more like cool tone purpley pink that I've been working with up to this point. Yeah, you can see the eyeshadow is just like falling like kind of in weird position where I'm not actually putting it. But these eyeshadows are very pigmented. I'm pretty happy with the way this is looking overall. I'm gonna go back into that shade Mogul and kind of hit that where the cut crease ends just to re-deepen up that outer area. So I do like this brush again because I have smaller eyes. I definitely like smaller shading brushes. I think this is pretty good. I am getting the fallout, but I think it's just because there's so much kick up in this palette. The shadows are loosely packed, but they are really nice and pigmented, especially for Morphe eyeshadows. And these being matte Morphe eyeshadows, I'm really enjoying the look of these so far. Like the James Charles palette, I felt like that was a colorful palette as well, but that one was, the colors in that were like pretty sheer. I was a little bit disappointed with the quality in that one, but this one seems to definitely have a nicer quality, a lot more pigmented, a lot more easy to blend, and they go together. Again, I'm using pinks, like monochromatic, so it's not super fair to totally compare because I'm not using too much shade variation, but I do think that this is looking pretty good and the eyeshadows are performing well so far and a little bit better than typical Morphe shadows. So I want to do something in my inner corner. I'm trying to figure out exactly what I want to do. I think I'm going to use the shade Custom Rims, which is that like aluminum silver shade in the palette. It's like nice and foiled. I like that there are some smaller brushes in here. I wish they would have put a nice small tapered blending brush. I guess, yeah, they do have small brushes, but they're not really tapered, which I'm not crazy about. Like this brush is nice and small, but it's so fluffy. I guess it's good for like blending out smaller details, but so this eyeshadow is very foiled, very creamy. You can see how it picks up on the brush there. It seems to pick up pretty nice. And I'm not gonna wet it, I just wanna see how it performs in the inner corner on its own. Yeah, so that's how that shade looks so far. This is, again, custom rims, and it's the foiled silver. It looks really nice. I didn't wet my brush at all, and it's kind of sitting in between where the concealer ends on the pink eyeshadow, where I cut the crease, and just more in my inner corner where there isn't any concealer, and it looks really, really vibrant and pigmented. This is definitely a really nice shadow. It's like this would look really cool all over the lid. Going back into Self-Made a little bit to make sure the blend is good there and there's not too much of the silver on the lid. I feel like the inner corners are always so tough. Like it's like hard to get them really even and have the placement exactly right. Okay, I think I'm just gonna leave it there. So I think that's pretty much all the eyeshadow. I'm gonna do the upper part of my lid. I'm gonna go in with the Kat Von D Tattoo Liner in the shade Trooper. And I am just going to create a wing liner. So my wings are done. This is the first time ever that this eye looks worse than this side. It's usually always the other way around, and I'm really not super talented at that, but I'm just gonna leave it at that because trying to fix it is usually a futile effort. And I'm going to put on mascara. I'm using the Too Faced Damn Girl mascara. I'm gonna line my waterline. I'm gonna use the Colourpop Cream Gel Liner in the shade Insomniac. It's just a hot pink. I am going to put concealer on my under eyes and clean up the edge of my eyeshadow. And again, I'm using the Urban Decay Naked Skin Concealer and my Gino Microfiber Velvet Sponge. So I'm gonna work on the lower lash line. I think I want to use the shade Fast Lane, which is that deep black in the palette. I would normally go in with like a black eyeliner underneath and blend it out with the black, but I wanna see how this one performs. So this, I'm a little nervous here, but I think I can get it. I'm using the JS13 brush, which is a very small pencil brush. Again, not a lot of tapering on these brushes, which is a little weird to me, but I think this brush is small enough that we'll be able to pull it off. I was also thinking of possibly going in with Wake and Bake or Nate, but I think I really just like want the pink to really stand out in this look and have a little bit of that, like with the black wing liner and the black lower lash line, that like kind of like more rockery, grungy look. So I'm just gonna go in with the Fast Lane, that true black on the lower lash line, and try to be really careful and really optimistic. So that's how that looks on the lower lash line. I think that came out, that's looking really good. The black is, it's not like the blackest black, so it was a little easier to blend out. It's pretty black, but it's not such an intense, heavily crazy pigment that's like really dark and like really falling all over and not blending. It blended out and sheared out just a little bit, just so that it could look really nice, I think. So that's what I have going on the lower lash line so far. I'm very happy with how that black performed on the lower lash line. I'm cleaning off the excess on a paper towel, a little bit of the black, and I'm just gonna blend this out a little bit more. Just like along that edge. And I'm going to finish off my eyes with the same Too Faced mascara on the lower lash line. So the eyes are done. I'm really happy with the way everything came out. I think that the pink on the cut crease really does stand out from the more purpley actual crease work that I did, the more purpley pink crease work that I did, like the hot pink on the lid. Definitely there's enough tonal variation, but it's still monochrome, which is nice. I really like the silver, the pop of silver in the inner corner. I think that eyeshadow performed beautifully. Overall, I'm very happy with the performance of the eyeshadows. I really didn't have any actual notable issues with any of the eyeshadows. Just a couple of the more purpley tones were not quite as true to color. I think it has to do with these being like, you know, those like reddish pigments. I don't think these are necessarily gonna be eye safe. I'll put a note if I'm wrong, but I think that these are like more like eye pigments that are not necessarily in the US safe for the eye, but then I feel like they're gonna kind of stain my lids. Once I take this off, it's gonna be like for like a day or two, I might have a little bit of the pinky residue, but I'm not too concerned about that. I'm fine with that. I think this looks really, really good. So I'm going to finish the rest of my face. I am going to finish off the makeup with lips. I'm going to use the Lime Crime Velveteen Matte Liquid Lipstick in the shade Teddy Bear. So just a nice mauve-y, brownie kind of shade, I think kind of goes with this look. It looks nice and rockery and grungy, but it's not competing with the eye too much, so I'm definitely happy with that. And I'm going to finish my face with some setting spray. I have the Morphe x Jeffree Star Set and Refresh Mist in the shade, or in the scent Starberry. So I really love their Set and Refresh setting spray by Morphe. It is an aerosol, so if you're not into that, that might not work for you, but I really like it. It really gives like a light, like a very light, very even application of setting spray, and it does give the skin like a nice dewy finish to it without being too oily or too much. And the other one has a really nice like light clean scent, so I'm curious to see how this one smells in comparison. I feel like the nozzle, I don't know if like I was having trouble opening it, if I kind of messed it up a little bit, or if it's a little as effective, but it's definitely not as smooth of a mist. And this scent is okay. It's kind of like a bubblegum strawberry kind of artificial candy kind of scent. I definitely think overall I prefer the original one of these, and you can definitely taste that in your mouth. And the nozzle, I don't know what happened there. It's not as smooth, but let's see, it looks, yeah, the finish of it is pretty much the same as the other one. So this is the completed look. I absolutely love how everything came out. I didn't have any real issues putting things together. None of the performance of the eyeshadow disappointed me. So I definitely would say that this palette is a hit. I think that the quality has definitely been stepped up on these eyeshadows. Morphe eyeshadows are a little bit hit and miss for me. I really like the 3502 palette, the Jaclyn Hill, the second Jaclyn Hill palette they did, the second large palette they did was pretty nice. I didn't really have any problems with the smaller palettes that were so controversial for the Jaclyn Hill, that later collection. I thought those were okay too. They were fine. Not my favorite eyeshadows, but pretty decent. And I wasn't too crazy about the James Charles palette. I thought that one was a little bit disappointing. And that one that was like the Boss Babe, I'll put the name of it on the screen. That palette was a little bit iffy with the mattes, but this one I did think the mattes, I pretty much did an all matte look except for that inner corner, and I think that the eyeshadows perform really well. I'm glad that, like, I feel like Jeffree Star probably definitely gave his opinion on the finishes and the quality and made sure that the quality on this was decent, and did just slap his name on it without actually trying it, because it does perform really nicely. I'm definitely excited to try some of the other shades in this palette. And I tried the one shade Back, and it was definitely very vibrant and a little bit deeper than I was expecting. So I think some of these lighter shades will perform as nice transition shades, and you do get a couple of more mid-tone deeper shades. So I think that I don't think you'll have too much trouble creating a look, you know, if your skin is a little more medium or deep. I think there's still definitely some stuff to work with here, and the shades are a little bit warmer, so I can't imagine things pulling too ashy on different skin tones. So I think overall, the only thing I was worried about with this palette was that there's going to be a ton of like really like light cream shades, and I wouldn't say that's the case. I would say that there's just like a nice array of like lighter transition shades, which does make sense because Jeffree is, you know, a lighter skin person, so he would kind of make something that he would use. So I feel like, yes, you know, he would be using lighter transition shades, but there is definitely consideration for, you know, all skin tones here. I feel like it's not just going to work for one skin tone. I think this palette would work for everybody, and me having a lighter skin tone, a lot of these, you know, transition shades would work really well for me. So I'm pretty excited to kind of play with more, especially some of these green tones, and I definitely want to dip into that glitter. That looks really awesome. Let's just dip into it now. It feels really nice and like a lot of like creamy slip to that. Yeah, that glittery one, the shade is called Millions. Yeah, it definitely seems like that would be really nice and that would stick to the eye without necessarily using a glitter glue. So overall, yeah, I'm really happy with this palette, and I love how like sleek it is, the holographic print on the front. I love that it's the same as it is, you know, on the box. I think that that's really, really cool. That completes this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and have a good one. Bye, guys.